I might have to watch my own series again. That was a long one. That was like 150 episodes or something, wasn't it? That was a long time. Okay. Fling the fish. Although they would be carpopults. Shame we didn't have any arrow fish. Archer fish. Damn it. Begin construction of carpopults. Okay. Of carpopults. And how long are we going to spend doing that? We have 4 weeks, potentially. It would technically be 3 weeks because when we draw the card, the game ends. So maximum we could get this done would be 3. Okay. Open for the best. Okie doke. So that's that. Jesper. Oh, and it's the king. That is it. In the game, it's the Frost Shepherds, but we changed the villain. So the forces of darkness are finally here. The game is over. So according to the rules, the ending is ambiguous. The game just ends. It's left to our imaginations to finish the story. However, we could just come up with what happens. Um, if we all just want to kind of chip in on the ending here. Nope, nope. King of Spades is the Frost Shepherds arrive and the game is over. Or in this case, the forces of darkness arrive and the game is over. Yeah, no, it's just the same. So, to recap what we've currently got, now that this is here, uh, we find ourselves huddled in winter in an abandoned village, an abandoned city that has hanging gardens and some aqueducts that we managed to fix. We explored the cathedral in the town and found some paintings that, what was the thing about the paintings? We restored them and we found out there was a secret. I think it was from the paintings that we actually learned about the Dark Lord, or we had clues to the Dark Lord's weakness. Yes, that paintings containing information about the Dark Lord. Um, it was kind of ambiguous there. I think it was actually from the stones that we learned the clues to his weakness. But anyway, it turned out those paintings were special about the Dark Lord. Behind those paintings, we discovered a tunnel that was originally collapsed, and then as we did a little bit of digging, we found out there was a band of bearded pocket people that we decided not to go or we were going to go talk to them after we've discovered their language. But then that got canceled and sidetracked, and instead we found a bunch of fat carp living down underneath the cathedral, which was actually uh, part of when we learned the Lord of Darkness was allergic to fish. Some of them were living under the cathedral, but there was one in Duck Lake that we actually managed to find by taking the fishing boats and portaging them across and taking them to Duck Lake, and we actually managed to get them with the help of some cave children we found in the cave who had a secret technique for catching the fish. Um, we now possess this possibly special fish that might be able to help us against the Dark Lord. It might be the one that he's allergic to. Um, that's the Hanging Gardens. The forest was helpful early on. We took some wood from it and made some wheelbarrows that helped a little bit. On the other side, though, was an isolated community that we never really got to talk to. We tried to. We were setting up to prepare a diplomatic mission, but it's too late. We've been caught in the winter. However, when we originally sent a scouting party of wild children that we had found earlier, they kidnapped them because it turns out that they're desperate and evil too. The priest, I think, no, it was an old man who turned out to be a former minion of the forces of darkness, finally was let go from our community and escaped over there, along with his evil daughter that was trying to spread the word of the forces of darkness and convince our citizens that we should all just join the forces of darkness. So those children had come from a cave, which was along the coast. That was one of the first things the settlement went and explored. We discovered that. Um, we also had some carved mossy stones that we had explored, taking the moss from them as an early staple of our diet, and later, upon closer examination, found out that they were carved with symbols and runes which the linguist used to discover information, specifically to the priest, finding out that the priest was also actually a minion of darkness. He had vanished from our settlement to go to the community, and then later came back because he found out they were evil bastards too, and then wandered off into the settlement, exploring the city, exploring the cathedral, and that was the last we ever saw of him until we found his shadow, accompanied by haunting ocarina music. We didn't know if he was an illusion, but we assumed that it was possibly something to do with an omen from the Lord of Darkness, and it took away a bunch of ocarinas that had come here and settled with us, looking for the priest, and they finally decided to just leave and go find him in the middle of winter, and we never ever found them again, never heard from them again. What else happened along the way? We had some cattle scattered around early on this year that we managed to bring back to our village. We've been snacking on them as well as plentiful horse meat. We had some wolves that were wandering around that we managed to tame, and they are now part of our village. And that wolf tamer eventually died, however. I don't actually remember how that happened. Um, and we dredged up some chests from the lake that were mystery chests. We had no idea what was in them. We could not identify them, or we just didn't open them, or whatever. But we decided they'd be good building material, so they are currently being used as fortifications for our town. Um, we'd also left some open-ended things. We never really did go look at whatever happened with the priestly illusion. We kind of sort of came up with an idea for how we were going to deal with the forces of darkness. This is actually now very relevant. What are we going to do? We did try and we thought about arming the children and the adults. We did do that, right? Yes, we gave everyone basic combat training, so this actually did get resolved. The other thing was we never managed to go figure out what was up with the other village. We were going to go have them join, but that's what this diplomatic mission was going to go solve, and we never got to it. So, right now, this discussion is no longer a discussion. This is actually now a very real and relevant thing. The forces of darkness are here, and we have at our disposal fortifications in an old abandoned city made of mystery chests that we still don't know what's in the chests. We have plenty of food for a siege. And at our disposal, we still have Do we still have quality weapons, or did we give them all to the wild children? We had quality weapons, but we trained them up with the wild children, then we sent the wild children out and they got caught. I don't know if we lost all our weapons or not. But our villagers have been basically trained. We gave them 2 weeks, I think. And we have at our disposal the mystery fish. We were going to build carpopults, but now we're going to have to use them by hand because we do not have those. So that is where we are. We are now facing down the forces of darkness. Let me get this here. The forces of darkness are outside of our encampment, outside of our village here. They these are war tents, just in case you didn't know. Um, what we have at our disposal is a bunch of tamed wolves, some lightly trained villagers. We have some crazy wild kids from the cove. We have our fish. We have mystery chests. Uh, we do not have access to the pocket people who still probably don't know what's going on. And so, why don't we decide how this ends? Let me. Let me set the mood a little bit. I'm trying to find a war music here. This is ooh, that's better. Let's try this one. Well, that's true. We did lose the tamer, but we had them for a while before we lost the wolf tamer. Yeah, but I don't know if that's copywritten. It probably is. We do have an abundance. Maybe they're swordfish. Ah! They are evil lizard creatures, yes. I guess while we're drawing here, I should probably draw the chest fortifications that we've got. I don't know. Were they? They were just wandering wolves around our area. Oh, okay. So how are we gonna find that out? Do we want to roll a die? How would you like to discover whose allegiance the wolves have? Oh, okay. So the wolves betray us, and they go back to the forces of darkness. They were actually evil the whole time. Do we have cats? Oh, the cat giant mecha cathedral comes alive. Turns out it was a giant golem that the bearded pocket people were making work. Because that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to figure out why the pocket people were down there, right? We were going to go talk to them and ask what they were up to. Maybe that's what they were up to. So it turns out, as this dire wolf situation happens, that the wolves suddenly run over and go lick the faces of the army of darkness. We've lost one of our most valuable allies. And it turns out we hear a rumbling, and suddenly, behind us, the gigantic cathedral comes to life. And it turns out that this whole time, the bearded pocket people were actually re-excavating it and turning it operational. And the cathedral walks along on its flying buttressed paws and joins the battle. Ooh, with the priest at its head? Riding atop that is the priest. And we'll make the little bearded pocket people. Okay, so our people are armed with fish. We have the one possibly important fish. Somebody is clinging to it, waiting for an opening to go and try and slap. Oh, that's supposed to be its tail. Here, I'll add some paws here. As we're waiting for a breakthrough to try and... Ooh, riding horses. Or just on a horse, yeah. Tied to a horse. Forgot that we actually have that. Let's put... Speaking of horse, there was one riding by. Okay, so armed with horses and carp and a special fish, and now this gigantic cathedral with the priest who was searching the ruins, who was also half-heartedly a part of the forces of darkness, apparently has now completely forsaken them, is now fighting against the hordes of darkness who have taken our wolves into the fight. So we keep... Okay, so it turns out that the mystery of the chests was that it was fish bait that we used to... So our entire armory now is just fish. And the waft and the smell of all the fish wafts over the battlefield. Okay, so that's the battle. How does this resolve? The mathematician comes back with a flying machine and drops the fish. The Dark Lord swoons, starts breaking into hives. We start smoking the fish. So how do we want to resolve this? He trips on mossy stones. Well, that was an earlier suggestion too, right? That he trips and falls. Instead of on the ice, it's on the icy mossy stones, so now it's like doubly slippery. And whilst riding by on a horse, heroically someone manages to get the one fish to rule them all into his mouth and curb stomps him. But is it the fish? Is it the one? Is it the fish that he's allergic to? We'll put this to a community vote. Everyone gets a vote. Is it successful? Or is it the wrong fish? Flip a coin? seems very well. So is it 50-50? Let's go through the. Tell you what, I'll get a. That is not the one. Object. Close this. Object. Components. Dice. Pull out a 10-sided die. We'll do this percentage based. So, on our side, we have the fish. We have people trained up in our defense. We've got horses. We've got the cathedral. We are fortified. What other advantages do we have? So we got the forces of darkness here. They've got our wolves. Okay, so it's a wiggling fish stuck in his throat. I'd say overwhelmingly we have a choice or chance here. So, what should we say then? 1 through 6. 1 through 6, it's successful. 7 through 10, it's not. Or 1 through 7. I guess, what do we got here? We've got 8. So what other thing? So in that case, I'll just make this an 8-sided die. So we'll get rid of that. Okay, so on a 7 or an 8, we fail. Otherwise, it's fully successful. It's a 5! Turns out, the whole time, that was indeed the magic fish. It was enough to destroy the Dark Lord. That's enough to dispel the strength of the forces of darkness, and it turns out they no longer have any heart or will or capability to fight, and they are defeated. The wolves run back off into the woods and the land, and we are successful. Yes, yes, the evil slave-capturing, child forced laborer gang has succeeded. And we can now continue our slavish ways and put our will upon the land. Well, that one fish is it. We no longer have that very important fish, but all these fat carp we found in abundance. Yes, so now our side reigns supreme. Okay. So the whole premise for this, as I mentioned in the very first stream for this, was the inspiration came from the Castlevania series on Netflix. So in that show, Dracula marries a human woman who wants to learn science and medicine, and the church sees this as witchcraft, takes her and burns her at the stake, and this causes Dracula's vengeance to basically wipe away what he sees as the horror of the human race. He thinks that every human is just evil and wicked and a dumb animal, and so he attempts to punish humanity for its ways because it cannot be an enlightened, civilized species. So, in that same vein, he perhaps came to wipe out the evil child enslaving village that has been so evil. His own minions in our ranks have left us, that the priest who thought that we were so terrible he left to go to another village, got disheartened by them, came back to us, left us to then find a weapon. So we bear in mind this priest that helped us was half-heartedly a member of the forces of darkness already. So he left the forces of darkness to join our village, was disheartened by our evil, went over to this village, was disheartened by their evil, came in, embraced the darkness, went to the cathedral to find a weapon for us to help us defeat the forces of evil that he initially left. This is this is a pretty messed up story. He totally did the whole, well, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and thought that we were the biggest, baddest, and decided to just join forces. So the scourge of humanity continues, thanks to the forces of stinky fish and a giant mecha cathedral powered by some tiny pocket people and some wild children that just apparently are scattered all throughout the land. That was the story of this slaver's village. Oh, and now the stream is deciding to buffer. How fun. Okay, well, I think that was a highly successful game. Ah, the stream. Come on. Yeah, I think the stream is ready to call it quits here. It did manage to hold out for an hour and a half, though, so that was good. Okay, so what'd you think? You want to play this again next week? Like I said, I would like to sort of take concepts from this game and then continue building on it until we get our own game. It is kind of a longer game, actually. Yes. Well, so I mean, the uh, the objection system just never really got used all that much. There was really only two times when I got whispered about objecting to something and using that to cancel an action. So I guess we can add that in maybe as a round, just as a reminder. At the end of a turn, uh, we can pause for a moment to have everyone, have a round of whether they would like to object and build up some points. He was, but you know what? I think the one that he objected to actually made it a little bit better for them too. He suggested we use child labor, but if I remember, he used his objection to put one of those projects back a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll add that in. We'll add that in as a step that give everyone a chance to object and build up some points. Because the whole mechanic in the rules was that you were supposed to see just a pile of contempt here when things were going bad, and that just kind of clued everyone in to we're going in the wrong direction. But it also made it a little bit dangerous because then you in the rules that I adapted, you could use that to affect other projects, so you could kind of work against each other in that. But in this game, it really just sort of ended up that we worked against ourselves anyway, because a lot of the bad decisions were that people just left. So a lot of the projects we tried to get done just didn't get done because bad things happened. Well, I'll just remember to add that into the steps for the next time around. We'll add in a dedicated time to give everyone a chance to think about it and raise an objection if they want to. And then that'll be a little bit more of a twist because then it'll be sort of a whodunit situation where we're trying to figure out who keeps trying to cause problems. But if we do go in a different direction and we're a little bit more friendly next time, then I could see that maybe still not being much of a thing. And in the game that I wanted to develop, my thought towards that wouldn't necessarily be that someone would want to be antagonistic to the group, but rather they would collect points over time. Um, so, either through their objections or like a discovery of like ancient evil ruins or something, and discovering, more secrets that they would gain like a little bit of corruption. And so at some point, someone would build up enough points that I would then whisper players that saying, "Hey, you have an opportunity here. You're approached by somebody, or you're feeling." I guess just antagonistic to the group, here's an opportunity to cause trouble or something. So there would be this sort of behind the scenes game going along with the actual game that everyone else is seeing. That's kind of what I had envisioned for this kind of a game. Because I wanted it to be, this game, The Quiet Year, is meant to be sort of a top-down collaborative game where everyone's just sort of guiding this village along. But I wanted it also to be more personal so that we would actually be part of the village as well. So there would be sort of the overview events happening, but then you as a villager would be affected by those events as well. And so there'd be kind of an internal, external game and a behind the scenes game. Obviously, that's a bit of complexity that I have not even uh, pinned down any idea for that yet. But ultimately, that was my vision for what I wanted to do. So, gaining ideas from these kinds of games, I would like to go forward, and we just kind of collaboratively come up with ideas for a game that we would eventually like to play. Basically, a city building board game is the end game of all this for Twitch. Well, I guess we managed to make it. I'm glad we finally actually got to finish this. I wish it had worked out a little bit faster, a little bit easier than it was, but I guess in future I'll just kind of start paying attention to what my internet is like, and maybe we'll just have to do some of these late night streams during the week. Saturday still seems to be okay, but maybe if we want to continue on for a weekly stream, it'll have to be sometime later. Well, later my time. For the rest of you, it'll be very early, so we'll have to see. We got down through pretty much all of the deck, too. There were only 3 cards left, so we got through a lot of winter. But it's kind of interesting to see in this game, how spring is sort of like the setup. All the events that happen are still pretty mild, giving you a chance to find things. But by winter time, people are dying and resources are being destroyed, projects are being set back. So it definitely has that sort of climax towards the end where all the bad things are happening. How do we overcome it? But yeah, so I think we'll give this another shot next week. Modify the rules a little bit more and add some balance to it. The group that made this game, um, is it in the back of the rule book? I don't remember who it is. Let me look real quick. Buried Without Ceremony is the developer name. Um, okay. Well, yeah, I mean that's something you'd have to consider, an actual schedule that will actually work out for people. Um, as I was saying, the people that made this game have made other games in this vein, so I might take a look at that and pull some ideas from those games as well. Okay. Well, we might just have to shorten it then. Maybe do one season per stream on a Saturday or something, if that is all we can do. That might be a little bit of an adjustment shock there, Pocket Ninja. Wow. Yeah, that's a bit of a while away. Okay, well we'll have to figure out what everyone can do for the stream. For now, we'll just stick to the Saturdays and go from there, I guess. So, I guess we can call the stream good now. It's been almost 2 hours. Let everyone go to sleep or start the day. Oh, geez. Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for finishing this off. Zoc will just have to watch the video, unfortunately, to find out how this ended. But yeah, I think that went very well. A little bit more interesting than just watching me build a city or a park. I think that's probably a good direction for the stream. Just do more interactive stuff. Well, in that case, I guess we will end it here then, and just watching the stream, seeing how far back it is. But okay, well, again, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you all next weekend, Saturday. Have a good whatever.